Hello and welcome to the One Life Church devotional series where we cover the entire Bible in 20 months. Well, today's chapters are 2 Chronicles 3 and 4, and we find ourselves on Mount Moriah. I wonder what that looked like. Mount Moriah, the place where the temple eventually was built. Well, we know in one of the chapters that there was a thicket there. There's definitely some vegetation on that mountain. Anyway, I'm sitting here in Hilton. The winds begin to pick up. The weather's changing. I better move out of the wind to finish this devotion. Now, let's talk about this temple for a moment. Magnificently built, golden overlay on the inside, candlesticks, tables, altar. Then a massive bath that could take 3,000 baths, supported by 12 oxen, which represent the government of Israel. Now, that bath was replacing the laver. Remember, Moses had a little bowl that the priests washed their hands in. Now they had this magnificent thing. Anyway, this temple was absolutely magnificent. Lasted 400 years. Then Nebuchadnezzar surrounded Jerusalem, destroyed it. About 70 years later, you'll read about in the book of Ezra, they rebuild the temple. And that lasts a number of hundreds of years until Herod makes his modifications and Jesus is born with the temple standing with Herod's modifications. And then that's where Jesus ministered, on Mount Moriah, in the site of this temple. Then, 70 years later, AD 70, the temple is destroyed by the Romans. The Roman soldiers under Titus come around, destroy the temple. All that's left is a wall, the Western Wall, a wall of prayer, which is sometimes called the Wailing Wall. Now, it's intriguing. This 37 acres of land, Mount Moriah, is a hotly contested area today. In fact, the very spot where the temple that Solomon built is actually controlled by Muslims right now. Now, the question is, will the Jews rebuild the temple there? Well, if you read Daniel 9, literally, at the very end of the age, looks like there's going to be a temple there. And now, if that happens, the Gentiles move aside, the Jews come and build their temple again, maybe it's what Jesus was talking about in Luke 21 when he said the time of the Gentiles will be over. Now, some people think that was 1967. Other people think that's coming exactly at the time of the return of Jesus. But be as it may, what I would like to talk about for a few moments is that location, Mount Moriah. You see, Mount Moriah was the place where Abraham was going to sacrifice his son Isaac, and God said, no, stop. I'm going to give you a lamb in substitute. And he found one in a thicket there next to the place of the altar. So it's the place where a substitute lamb was given to Abraham. It was also the place where David saw the angel of the Lord in judging Israel stop. We saw the mercy of God replace judgment. Now, theologians and historians tell us that it is also the place where Jerusalem was built, and just outside on Golgotha, which is, they say, 700 meters from the point of the temple, is where Jesus was sacrificed. Isn't that amazing? The sacrificial lamb, where mercy triumphs over judgment, the place where Jesus was sacrificed. Now, Jesus spoke about this even before he was sacrificed. He was talking to the Pharisees, actually, and he said, you know what? Abraham foresaw this, and he rejoiced at a sacrifice on this mountain. And they were so mad with him. And verse 59 says they picked up stones and wanted to throw them at Jesus. What was Jesus saying? Jesus was saying, you know, when Abraham saw that ram, he saw into the future. He saw a sacrifice coming. Not a woolly one, not a little white one tucked in a thicket. No, it was going to be the Lamb of God. And he was going to carry the wood on his back up the hill, just like Abraham carried the wood up to sacrifice his son. Jesus himself was carrying the wood up that mountain. And Abraham looked up ahead and he said, you know what, this is going to happen. God's going to send his son. God's going to send a sacrifice that's going to deal with it once and for all. It's going to be a substitute for us. And the Pharisees saw something of that and were not very happy with it. Well, as we read these accounts of the temple on this magnificent place, it speaks of a day that Jesus was coming to save and to sacrifice himself for the world.